everyone, in this video I have process number 3 of my little International Scrapbook Day long weekend of videos. So a process video every day, Friday through Monday, and each one features a scrapbooking technique that I particularly love. It's one of my favourites. So Friday was fussy cutting, Saturday was watercolour, and today is going to be cut file. So this is a bookshelves cut file from Paige Evans, my favourite person who does cut files and collections as well, really. But anyways, favourite cut file person. This is from her Facebook group, Paige Evans Happy Scrappy Place. I nearly said Happy Scrappy Face there. Happy Scrappy Place. And she releases free cut files on there that obviously you can download and use however you want. So yes, this was quite a recent one, this bookshelves one. I did have to alter it slightly, as I often do with cut files, because I have a silhouette portrait rather than a silhouette cameo. So most cut files are designed for the wider cameo mat, and so for this one I had to split up the cut file and rotate them and then cut 2 pieces of A4 cardstock to get this size. The papers I'm using here are Minte papers, again like I used on Friday, but this is the Dear Diary paper collection, and I thought it would go really well with this sort of bookshelf theme thing I've got going on here. The picture I'm scrapping is of my favourite shelf on my bookshelves. It's I mentioned this before in like a junk journal video and in other videos as well, and some of you may notice via the tattoos that you see on my process videos, but I am a total Tolkien obsessive. I am just, yeah, totally obsessed. And this is my Tolkien bookshelf. I have a separate shelf for Tolkien memorabilia, but this is just the books. And I also mentioned in a junk journal video recently how I had spent, well, let's just say I splashed out a bit after I saw a set of 2nd edition Lord of the Rings in a charity shop, and I wanted to kind of photograph and document that basically. So I thought this bookshelf cut file would go really well with that. The Dear Diary papers have got lots of books in there, and I thought the colours would just work better. I did think about using the Pink Paisley Oh My Heart collection because there's lots of books in there, but the colours were just not right for the photograph. So what I'm going to start off doing is backing the cut file. I started off using that paper that's from Dear Diary and did sort of 1 in every 3 of the books with that paper, and then I'm going to use this paper pad. It's called Botanic Garden or Botanical Garden. It's one of those ones from the works, those vintagey ones, and I'm obsessed with these paper pads. I love them so much. But for backing the cut file, doing what I always do and just tracing around the shape, cutting slightly larger on the paper around my pencil mark, and then sticking it on like that with a thin layer of glue. Now as you can see on the cut file, the books, like there's lots of little separate sections on the books like you would get for the titles and stuff, and I'm sorry, I was not feeling doing every single one of those little squares in a different colour. That would have taken a very long time, so I haven't done that. I do go back and do something else to kind of differentiate, I suppose, those little squares or little rectangles on the book a little bit. But yes, so I do 1 paper at a time rather than 1 space at a time. So I went through with that paper, filling up some blanks, and then at this point I only had a few blank pieces to fill. And this is the best part of backing and cut file, I find, because you don't really have to measure anything. You just cut it randomly and then just slap it on, because you're not going to see the back of it because those bits are already covered up. So this is the easiest bit and the best bit of backing a cut file, in my opinion. So when those are all done, I did forget to say at the beginning there, I did add some Distress Oxide over the top of the cut file. That was in antique linen, I think, just because the white against the colour of the paper I was using, it just wasn't quite right. It didn't look natural, for want of a better word. So just toning down that white to a more vintagey colour just helped a lot with that. So yes, those are all backed. It probably took me I'd say about half an hour, I think it took me to do the backing of the cut file. I didn't time myself, so I'm just estimating here. But yes, I think they look quite pretty with all those very nice sort of vintagey papers and colours going on. It works so much better with the paper and with the bookshelf rather than using bright colours. So also when I held them up against the paper, they were still getting too lost on that. It's quite a busy paper, so I'm going around the edges with some Distress Oxide in tea dye, just as I said, just to bring them up against that really busy background, and I think that works. Like, they're not too in your face, but you can still see them quite well. I also decided instead of having like a straight line of bookshelves, I would sort of stagger them, so the top one goes further over to the right a bit there, and then the middle one goes over to the left, and that sort of worked as well with the pattern that was going on the background of the paper as well. So you can see certain bits of it, like the little birdie with its nest up the top left. You can see that there. And then with the bottom one as well, the way I put it is that there's a little bird on the top of a pile of books, and the little bird's face is peeking out just between where there's a book at an angle there. I just thought that was a cute little thing. One of those cute little things you can find when you're looking at a layout and you've gone past just looking at the photo and the main parts, and then you start to see all the little details. I love little things like that. So I'm just backing my photo here, used one of the same papers I had used for backing some of the cut file, and then just another paper from that Botanic Garden paper pad. And then I'm just trimming off those bits of bookshelf that were sticking off the edge of the layout there. Now here I cut a lot of it out, but I spent like ages choosing between whether to have my photo there on the left or on the right, but I chose the right. And here I'm doing what I was saying I was going to do earlier about sort of making some of those little lines and rectangles on the books different colours. I'm just taking gel pens and just filling them in, colouring them in, and then they look more like old books, you know, old books that have got a bit of like gold on the edges and stuff. That's kind of what I'm going for there. I am using a copper gel pen and a gold gel pen. Now usually you can't really mix your metallics. It just, you know, using copper and gold or gold and silver is not generally allowed, but I feel like this is one of the few situations where you can get away with it. So sticking down my photo there. Then I'm not going to use the Dear Diary collection for any embellishments or anything. I'm just picking out some bits and bobs from my stash. So these little butterflies I've pulled out are from a Tim Holtz ephemera pack. I've forgotten the name of that ephemera pack. It might actually be called Botanical as well. It might be. I could be wrong. So pulling out some of those butterflies there, I went around the edges of those butterflies with oxide in Victorian velvet. Sorry, mind blanked there, just to help them pop out a little bit. Then I've folded their wings and stuck them on with glue dots, so there's more dimension going on there. And then I'm pulling out these little leafy flourish stickers from the Jen Hadfield sticker book. Now, if I couldn't, because they're clear stickers, I could not put them straight on the layout. It would not have worked. So I've stuck them onto some white cardstock. I had to sort of press them down quite hard with my nails so there weren't any bubbles or anything, and then I'm going to fussy cut around those to use those as little embellishments as well. And again, I'm going around the edges of those with the Victorian velvet to help them pop a little bit and also look a bit more, I don't really know what word I need to use there, but just with there was quite a lot of white around those leaves, and it just didn't really match everything else that was going on, so it just needed that little bit of pink or a little bit of other colour around the edges there. So yes, those are just popping on around the photo. I'm really not embellishing this layout very much at all, only adding a few tiny little bits and pieces. It's so busy already with the busy paper and with the cut file. Once you put all that effort into a cut file, it's one of the beauties of it. You don't actually then have to do that much embellishing because it's kind of already happened. Anyways, here I just found a little tiny word sticker in that Jen Hadfield book that said choose joy, and I thought that worked quite well with my favourite shelf. So I've just, again, I backed that onto some white cardstock and then cut it and went around the edges with the Distress Oxide. I added a couple little heart stickers, and then for my title I am using these are the Pink Paisley Auburn Lane little stickers, and my title is nerd. But in that way, whenever I see the word nerd, I hear Homer Simpson in my head going nerd. So that's what the title is, because, you know, I do have a slightly unhealthy obsession with Tolkien, and people have been known to say nerd to me, so I thought that would do as my title, but keeping it small, putting it on the photo there. I think the colours of those stickers goes really nicely against that dark photo. And then I'm just taking the oxide and tea dye to go around the edges of the layout, and here I am going to finish with some splatters. This is Distress Spray Stain in Tarnished Brass. I did think about using gold, but then I thought the brass would just work a little bit better with this. I already had gold with the leaves, So I thought I'd bring in that more brassy coppery tone with the splatters. And with that, this layout is complete. Thank you so much for watching. If you haven't seen the other 2 videos I've done for iNSD, then I will link those. I will be back tomorrow with my final layout in this little 4-piece series. What else do I say at the end of the video? I'm having a total brain blank today. Yes. Oh, links in the description. Please leave me a thumbs up if you enjoyed. You all know the drill. I'm gonna go. Thanks so much for watching. Bye bye!